Hey class, today we're going to do section 1.5, adding integers. Okay, so we've talked about integers and absolute values and how integers include negative whole numbers. So negative whole numbers, 0, and whole numbers, positive whole numbers. So when we're adding, we're going to deal with subtracting in the next few days. But when we're adding, just like we did in class the other day, maybe yesterday, depends on when you're watching this, okay, I'm going to represent these with either red or black. Remember, red, let me see if I can get a little red going. So red is your positives, okay, and I guess I can't do white, so I'll just do black as negatives, okay. So when we do, if I can get black, there we go. So black will represent our negative. Okay, so when we, let me erase that real quick. When we start this first problem, number 1, I know everyone here can do number 1. It's 8 plus 4, but let's represent it like we did before. Okay, so I'm just going to put positives and negatives instead of doing the color, so I think that'll just take too long. So if we have 8 positives, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I know this is very elementary, but I'm just trying to get the point because when we get to the negatives, it gets a little bit more confusing. So we have 8, and then we're just going to add 4 more. So we're left with 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 positives. So that means our answer, 8 plus 4 is 12. Again, I know everyone in this class knows what 8 plus 4 is, but I'm just using it as an example. Okay, let's go over here to number 2. 8 plus negative 4. Okay, you'll learn this is the same as 8 minus 4. But right now, how it's written 8 plus negative 4. So you have to get used to seeing it both ways. So that means we have 8 positives again, and then we have 4 negatives. And remember that a positive and a negative together make a 0 pair. Okay? Whoops, I guess I need to plug my computer in. So, so they cancel out. So if I have 4 negatives, I can cancel out 4 positives with it. And what am I left with? I'm left, okay, sorry. Okay, so moving on to number 3. So now we have 8 negatives. So you notice up here, the negative 4 was in a parentheses. Sometimes they put them in parentheses, sometimes they don't. It's the same thing. That's why it gets a little confusing, because they can write it differently. So let's do 8 negatives and 4 positives. Okay, so now we can do some 0 pairs. Those cancel. We're left with 4 negatives. So negative 4 is left. Moving on to number 4, we have 8 negatives and then 4 more negatives. Okay, again, this one's in parentheses, this one isn't. It's the same thing though. Okay, so now we have a negative 12. Okay, so I really want you to look at these and start to see if you guys can come up with a rule. Okay, so here we had 2 positives and our answer was a positive. Here we had a positive and a negative. Oh, I didn't ever do the answer here, did I? And the answer was a positive 4. Here we had a negative and a positive, and our answer was negative 4. And here we had 2 negatives, and our answer was negative. So I want you guys to see if you guys can come up with a rule. Okay, are you really adding the numbers together? Are you really subtracting the numbers together? Okay, we'll kind of talk about that in class. Okay, moving on. Here's a few more. Now these are a little harder. Not a lot, but a little. So number 5 is negative 12 minus 31. Now these are the type problems we don't want to sit here and mark out 31 negatives. See, this is where your rules come into play. What are my rules going to be? Okay, if I have 2 negatives here, okay, do you remember when we wrote it all out? Do we just end up adding those negatives together? Do we subtract them? Is my answer going to be negative? Think about these before you do it. Is my answer going to be negative? Okay, really think about that. Okay, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to add these together and your answer is going to be negative. That's going to be one of your rules. Okay, so what is that? Negative 53. Okay, oh my goodness, I just keep getting these things on my computer. Okay, so that's part of that, kind of should help you with the rule. Now, negative 5 plus 3. Okay, again, so we have 5 negatives and then 3 positives. Okay, because this is really plus 3. This is a positive 3. Negative 5 plus a positive 3. So we have 3 positives, so we can cross out 3 negatives, and we're left with negative 2. Okay. So here is a very similar one, but we probably don't want to write out all negative 18 little notches. You surely can if you want, but what if the problem was 1,005 minus 764? Okay, you don't want to do that, or plus a negative 764. So if we have 7 positives plus a negative 18, again, this is where we got to think about our rules. What are our rules? Okay, this is what I want you to think about. I want you to try to come up with what the rules are. There's 2 of them. Okay, so we have 7 plus a negative 18. So we have 1 positive, 1 negative. This is like we're at 7 on the number line, and then we go back 18. Okay, so we're really going to subtract, or you can think this is positive 7. Let's say the temperature outside is a positive 7, and then it drops 18 degrees. That doesn't mean it's at negative 18. Okay, it just drops 18 degrees. Okay, so then you'd be at negative 9. However you want to think about that. Okay, keep thinking about those rules. What are the rules going to be? Okay, so here we go. Here's a little bit longer one. So we have negative 12 plus a negative 6. Now, since this is all addition, you can do this in any order that you want. Okay, we'll do this one left to right, and we'll kind of mix this one up down here. So negative 12 plus a negative 6. So remember, that's like writing, having 12 of the reds, or red positive, now I can't even remember. Okay, so negative 12 plus a negative 6. So, okay, we're not doing all that. And then you'd add 6 more. So you should just know that that's going to be negative 18 plus 15 plus a negative 2. Okay. Again, it doesn't matter the order since it's all adding. But if you have negative 18, so you're $18 in debt, but you pay back 15 of it, so that means you're going to be at negative $3 in debt. You've almost paid it all back. Okay. Negative 3 plus a negative 2. Our signs are the same. We're at negative 3 on the number line. We add 2 more negatives, so now we're at negative 5 on the number line. That's your answer. Okay. Now number 9, why don't we switch it up, make it it's not necessarily easier, but you don't have to go left to right. You can add the 1 and the 2, because since it's all addition, so that's 3. And then you can add the negative 3 and the negative 10 to get plus a negative 13. Now you have 3, so you're at 3 on the number line, and then you go down 13. Okay? Or you can think you have $3, but you charge 13. So now you're $10 in debt. Okay? So I really want you to think about rules. Okay, and we're going to discuss it in class tomorrow. What should the rules be, okay, for adding integers? So really think about it. It's not a wrong answer if you have no idea, or if you come up with something kind of crazy, it's okay. All right, so think about it. Think about your signs. If I add 2 negatives, what is my sign going to be at the end? Okay, I want you guys to write on your notes what you think the rules will be. Okay? And